Hey everyone, welcome back to Behind the Page. I'm CJ, and if you clicked on this video, you probably already are familiar with who we have on today, the first two-time guest on Behind the Page, Jeremy Adams. Welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for your time.
Hey, oh, I'm so glad to be here. So glad to
Yeah.
be here.
So I don't want to, I was going to say I don't want to go off on a tangent right away, but I'm going to anyway. I
Do it.
follow your
Let's do
social
it.
media and you always post when you do your unboxings of the comps for your new books and stuff. And there was one recently that I thought was especially interesting and I was super jealous of. I don't have the one you posted, but I have the Cinemark Bug, and I thought
Oh,
your collection was super impressive of you have three.
I've got the Cinemark bug too,
Yeah.
uh, as well, and then I've got the new McFarlane bug. And then a couple years ago, I had made my own bug because there was none of these existed up until like a year ago, and
Hmm.
I had made my own out of giant like plastic Easter eggs and stuff, and all these little knickknacks. And I think I told somebody I think I'm gonna buy another McFarlane one just so I can paint it gold. I
Oh,
was gonna do
yeah.
it with the Cinemark one, but I like that, and that's never gonna come around again. So
Yeah. The Cinemark one, I don't even use it for popcorn. I hung it on like a string in my dorm room at school and just had it. I would always knock
100%,
into it, but it was just
100%.
so cool. It's just seeing it up on the wall.
It's really cool. It's a really cool popcorn bucket.
Yeah, it's awesome. So even if we didn't talk about you liking Blue Beetle and that last time,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
yeah. Who do we have to email to get you to write a Blue Beetle book or a Blue Gold book?
and I mean, Josh Trujillo is doing a great job on Jaime right now, but
Yeah.
I would love to steal away Ted Cord at some point, or even shoot. We did the new Golden Age. I would totally do a new Golden Age Dan Garrett 100%,
Oh,
but I'm such a Ted Cord nut. I helped out. I wrote the story for this cartoon that's out, a Ted Cord cartoon. I don't know if you ever saw it,
the
but it's
showcase, the DC showcase.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
with the funny music and stuff, and that was super fun. And I that might have been the first time I got to write Blue Beetle. And like I said, he's one of my favorites.
Hmm. I remember you saying last time we talked how much of a fan he was. Is there anyone else like you read a lot in your childhood you would say that like you're waiting to write for the first time or that?
There's a lot of Marvel stuff for sure, like Captain America and Daredevil, and in the DC side, always my heart goes toward Batman. But I was a huge Nightwing fan. I I I think I owned up until a couple months ago, like every Nightwing, mainly, and I just gave them a ton away to my nephew because I was like, it's time to induct another nerd. But it was such a when Dixon was writing it and he was doing Robin and they would cross over, I really, really dug that. I'm also a big Cassandra Cain fan. And then as Gail Simone took over on Birds of Prey, she really did a great job of like developing the martial art realm of DC Comics. And then of course Dixon was doing the same thing, like Richard Dragon, and like I was a nut for all that. So I'm a big fan of all the martial arts stuff. Gosh, I'm like thinking what other ones. I mean, there are certain things I would love to do. Like I would love to do Super Sons, but you got to de-age them. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would love to do.
Well, you had
Uh,
him for that issue in Flash. You had him
yeah,
DH.
totally. I was like, oh, the multiverse, great.
Yeah.
I can go anywhere I want. And gosh, there's so many other characters. I'm trying to think on the Marvel. I mean, there's a ton on the Marvel side too, obviously. But
Mhm.
yeah, if I look at my collection, there's certain ones that repeat over and over again. I was a huge Robin. I was a huge Tim Drake guy. When they did the redesign and he had the ninja boots and stuff, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm all in, and him as the detective. Um, but a lot of the Bat Family stuff was a huge. I really really enjoyed that.
Mhm. Yeah, it would be cool to see you do like a martial arts type movie with Cassandra Cain like the Batman one you did and the Mortal Kombat
Oh, I
movie.
know.
That'd be
Yeah, yeah,
awesome.
yeah, yeah. That would be. I mean, if I could do we always had a plan for Soul of Dragon 2, um, but it just never happened.
Yeah. I hope we get to see it one day. Uh
Yeah, me too.
Transitioning then, Free Comic Book Day, Mad Cave put out the first issue of the
Yay,
Flash
Flash
Gordon one.
Gordon. Yeah,
Congratulations. I read it. I loved
thank
it.
you.
What's it been like
Great.
working on this book? How long have you been interested in the Flash Gordon character, the mythos?
So obviously my first introduction to Flash Gordon was the '80s movie, with Sam Jones and produced by Dino De Laurentiis, which I at one point did internship for. That was my first kind of inclination about it, but I became really obsessed with kind of like old pulp sci-fi, especially Edgar Rice Burroughs stuff, and the old Buck Rogers, and I would like check out the serials and things. So when I was pitching some of my creator-owned stuff to Mad Cave, they were also mentioning they had some IP, and they were going through a list, and they mentioned Flash Gordon. I was like, I'd do Flash Gordon, and they're like, it's yours. I was like, oh no, what did I do? But I'm having a lot of fun just being kind of reintroducing the character in a way that's not, I'm not starting over, I'm not starting from scratch, but I'm definitely just kind of telling a tale and having fun and really trying to shove a lot of like fun pulpy sci-fi elements into it. And yeah, issue 1 comes out. Will Conrad's doing the art and he's doing a phenomenal job. Issue 1 comes out in July, and then every month after that for quite a while. So it's super exciting. It's a super
Yeah.
exciting. It'll be my first non my first non DC book.
What's the
Which
process of making it been like then that differs from making a book with DC?
I mean, it's not that different. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
turning things in on time, and I'll get notes, and I'll be angry at the notes, and then I'll incorporate them, and then
Mhm.
and then it's sent to the artist, and vice versa. I think comics have been really incredibly fulfilling, and I've already started working on something I want to do as a creator-owned book, which will be really fun. And it's not, you know, if you know me, it's not going to be something heavy-handed. It's going to be something really silly and just fun and like, hey, I can read this and have a good time.
It'll be a book the world needs. Yeah.
I hope so. I hope so. I got some cover art from one of my friends who's doing one of the covers, and I'm like so stoked. So it's exciting.
I'm excited. I can't wait to read that then. Your
Thank you.
issue 0, it ends on a great cliffhanger. I won't spoil it for the
Yeah.
people who haven't read it yet, but it already looks like it's going to be the start of an awesome adventure. Is there anything else you could tell us about what this run will be like, what readers can expect if I know you said the movie was your introduction, if it's particularly inspired
It,
from like the vibes
it's
of that or
well, it's like it's both the movie, but like there's some colors and stuff, but tonally, I'm really going back to the old newspaper strips and trying just to make it this like a straightforward action adventure sci-fi tale that's really really fun. And it's interesting because you're talking about a character that people know the name of and other characters that people kind of know of, but I have to both reintroduce them in a way that doesn't just like, it's not spoon feeding, and it's also feels like a continuation of a story that's been going on for ages. And it's tricky. I don't even know if it'll work, but it's one of those things I think people will go, oh, I get what this is. This is a superhero of a different age,
Mhm.
and he just kind of does what he thinks is right. But obviously the cliffhanger after issue 0 leaves him in a precarious position,
Yeah.
and when we pick up with him in issue 1, the world has moved on a bit, and that'll be really interesting to see how that turns out.
The world has moved on since the end of the cliffhanger. Remember that or
Yes, yes,
okay. All right. I won't ask anymore. I'm excited.
yeah, it has.
At the end of the issue too, something I didn't know. We saw a timeline for Mad Cave Studios, Flash Gordon, Defenders of the Earth
Yeah,
universe.
I didn't see that. I didn't know that either until
Really?
I
Yeah,
didn't know
that
the time.
oh okay, yeah. I was gonna are you involved in like the overall story of this universe at all?
No, they're really. I talked to some of the people, and they're taking some cues from some of the stuff I'm doing in my book.
Mhm.
But once it starts firing on all cylinders, it's really. I think that universe is going to explode in a big way. I think it's going to be really fun.
I'm excited. It's cool. It was a cool I had no idea they were making a Defenders
I
of
love
the
stuff
Earth
like
book
that.
too.
Then. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Hmm. It's gonna be awesome. There's a lot of like really interesting not big two universes like sparking off
Yeah,
lately that I'm excited to see the
yeah.
representation.
Isn't that true? Like, I mean, it's like all this classic IP stuff that I grew up with, whether it's like Skybound doing killer job, like Josh Williamson and stuff on GI
Mhm.
Joe, which has been unbelievable, and the Energon universe with Transformers and Daniel Warren Johnson. I mean, the guy's unstoppable. And then
Yeah.
you've got Thundercats, and then I've got my friend David Pepos is doing Space Ghost, which is really good.
Yeah.
And you've got Jim Club doing Conan, and it's just like there's so and Dick Alex Segura is doing Dick Tracy. There's like so many cool kind of like known IP, but that people don't really know about that's kind of coming up, and it's cool. And I think it's kind of a pendulum shift from all the superhero stuff in a way. And it'll go back and forth and whatever, but
Mhm.
it also challenges us doing superhero books to do something a little more creative and interesting too. I feel like
Yeah,
that's one
definitely.
challenge that I'm gonna try to implement at some point.
Definitely. Yeah. I'm really excited to see the route that this universe goes, for sure.
Yeah, me too.
So transitioning a little bit away from Flash Gordon then, last time we talked, it was just under a year ago now, was when the first issue of Green Lantern came out. And just this week,
Wow,
issue 11's come out. It's
crazy.
been an incredible book even still. Especially in the last few issues, we've gotten to see a lot of Earth's Green Lanterns that we haven't already.
Right.
Before, I remember when we talked, it was a Hal book and you were hoping to pull in the Green Lanterns down the line, but now we've gotten to
Yeah.
see so many of them too. I was wondering at this point, other than Hal, which lantern or if there's multiple lanterns have been the most fun to write in these last couple issues that
I mean, listen, Guy Gardner is always the most fun to write for me, and especially because I got to team up with Kevin McGuire, who's one of my artistic heroes ever since Justice League International. So having Kevin draw Guy in the backups has been really really awesome. Um, and then seeing Philip write John has been really it's been a revelation. But
yeah.
I really like Guy as kind of the funny backup. And then my plans for Kyle, I think are going to be really neat. And Kyle, I think Kyle's going to have a bigger. Nothing I can say, but it feels like I'm not saying this definitively.
Yeah.
I'm just saying like um, he has purpose in my book, but I just have that feeling. I mean, they've already released stuff about the 0 hour and different things, and like I have this distinct feeling that Kyle uh, will be a bigger part of the DCU. I don't know for sure. This is not me spoiling anything. I don't know. I'm just saying it feels like it. Sometimes you get that vibe, where you're like, I've seen that character in 3 different things. I'm not even in on the inside. I don't know what he's doing, but I just get that vibe a little bit. It's
I
too
hope
good.
so. I
Yeah,
hope so for sure.
everybody does. Everybody
Yeah.
does.
I know he showed up in
You want me to slit Hal's throat and stick Kyle in?
I think Kyle showed up in one of the recent the later issues of the recent Doom Patrol series too,
Yeah.
that I know he's definitely it'd be cool to see DC start putting him in some other books too. I really liked and thought was really interesting when Hal first sees Kyle again at the Resistance base. Kyle's like really freaking out about the emotional spectrum being all over the
Yeah.
place and everything. It's really cool.
Yeah, I think because it's natural for me anyways in terms of Kyle being this who he was, whether he was Ion or the White Lantern and all this stuff. I feel like Kyle is way more sensitive to the emotional spectrum than maybe some other people. And so the fact that it's being shattered and messed with and um, harnessed in different ways, I think is really messing with him. And we'll see. But as of next issue, you'll see a lot of clues about potentially what's happening with him, which is great.
Yeah, I'm excited. I also want to tell you the whole route you went with the Kilowog plot point without also spoiling how that went for people who haven't read it was really interesting, and I definitely think that people who
Oh,
haven't
thank you.
read it yet should because they'll enjoy that.
Thank you.
hmm so you mentioned Guy Gardner. It's been awesome to read those backups too. We got to see Omega Bam Man in them as
Yes.
well. That
I
I've been waiting for his return since your Flash run. How long
know.
do you think until you see an Omega Bam Man cosplay at a
Oh
Comic
my
Con
gosh.
of him?
I dream of moments like that. I mean, I would lose my mind, honestly. It'd be even better if that person would like wrestle me in the ring
I was
for
gonna
my,
say you'd have to challenge him right there
yeah,
for a belt.
because I've got a custom multiversal wrestling belt.
Yeah.
And it's hanging on my wall right now. And I'm always just like, man, somebody's just got to offer to wrestle for it. you
Yeah.
know, um, that would be really cool. I've always been curious if I'll run into somebody, cosplaying like Gold Beetle or Omega Bam Man or something. Some of the people that I really I really dig, and just co-created. I don't know. Who knows? I would love to somehow get you know, power comes from sales. So like if I did really well in a comic book, I bet they would let me, go, hey, can I do you know, a Wham special, one issue,
That would be awesome.
the rise of Omega Bam Man, like it would be so cool.
Yeah. It's
I
just
would,
like it's a bunch of anthology stories of him wrestling all these different people, and they all just end with a planet blowing up, like how the guy one did.
yeah, exactly. I
It'd be
think the
awesome.
first one would literally start on Krypton, and you would just see like,
Oh,
you'd be like, "Hey, Krypton,"
yeah.
something.
You see Kara watching in the distance as it just blows up.
Totally,
That'd be
totally.
horrible. That'd be so good though, at the same time. I know you saw a Thunderheart cosplay once. I think you posted. That must have been cool to see though.
Yeah, I mean, it was, yeah, that was incredible. It was New York Comic Con. This girl came up, and I was just like, oh my gosh. And I was, it's a bit overwhelming. I mean, I'm obviously so emotionally attached to the Flash family at this point, and I've tried to extricate myself, but it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. I think about, oh man, I wish the kids were doing this, or whatever. I haven't read the new series. I like Psy a lot, but it was too hard for me. I couldn't do it.
That's how
And I remember Mark Wade told me that. He
I
said
was about
after
to say the same thing. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
He said it's like watching a ex-girlfriend like kiss another man,
yeah,
something.
totally,
Yeah.
100%, 100%. And I got to meet Frank Miller last year at New York Comic Con, and I was with David Pepos, and David asked him something about Elektra, and he was like, "Yeah, I can't. That's like an ex-girlfriend I can't talk to. Like he's like, I don't want to know what's going on, but I know it's something.
That's awesome. So back to Green Lantern, DC it seems has been John's doing his own thing in his book, but other than that, it seems like DC's been totally cool with you using all different kinds of members of the Green Lantern Corps. I know that
Yeah,
with some books it's hard to use some characters because they're appearing all over the place, but it seems like you're able to use all the toys you really want for this series, and it's really awesome.
yeah, it's super cool. I think I've caused a bit of frustration in terms of just the quarantine, and other writers have had to. I know Josh had to figure out a way, like, explain this quarantine to me. And so I'm sorry, that was kind of what we were doing at the moment. So, but yeah, they've been really good because I think, like, I really like Jeff Thorne's run, and his was all cosmic. So this is definitely something that we're on Earth with Hal, and now we're getting a little further afield in space, but they're letting me do a lot. And as we move toward the fall, quicker than I can believe we're going to be, a lot of things will be tied up, and people will kind of see.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to see how it goes.
Yeah.
So in the same route of DC Comics, then we were talking about Irie a little bit before. If you can't talk about it, no worries. But on Instagram, you and Travis Mercer have been teasing a project
Oh,
with Irie, with Jai, with Stephanie Brown, Mr.
yeah.
Terrific's kid. Is there anything you could talk about that? Because all the responses
No,
I've seen is just overwhelmingly positive
I
for.
know, and that was our way of trying to get DC to bite on the pitch, because we were really excited about the idea of doing it, and we wanted to show them that there's a hunger for these kind of kid heroes. And um and yeah, I mean, no response, but it was uh, uh, Travis wanted to do some character studies, and I'm like, I would love this, and this is what I would do as a book. And we got really excited about it and tried to float it up the ladder. And it's one of those things that maybe it's just not the right time. I don't know, but I hope at some point they see the response and they see how excited people are, because I think Steph, or reluctantly running,
Hmm.
basically running a team, would be really neat. And I not just Jay and Irie, it's like Fair Play and Quiz Kid. I found their interaction in the Jay Garrick miniseries. I was like, this would be such a cool thing to write. Uh, these two kids, and Fair Play was going to be very like on the spectrum to a degree. So it would be kind of bringing awareness to some of that and the challenges, but also the excitement of that and the gifts that often come with autism in some form. And it was just going to be, it was going to be, you know, in my mind, it was like, oh, this is kind of, I loved Young Justice when it came out. I loved Peter David's Young Justice. I loved when Jeff took over Teen Titans and like that kind of vibe of younger heroes. Um, but yeah, so maybe we'll see someday.
I hope so. I hope so. I mean, all the online comic book circles I'm in, they were all talking about it. Everyone was guessing who the next character revealed would be and all
Yeah,
that stuff. I definitely think,
we were
I mean,
really excited. It was really, you know, I think for me, I'm so new at this. It was just a chance to like, you know, it's weird because you like pitch things, but there people are so busy and you don't know, and you're trying to make your voice heard and hey, maybe this would work and maybe that would work. So I don't know if we went about it properly, but we tried.
yeah, like I said, I really hope we get to see that because everyone else, myself included, would pull it immediately, I know. But
Oh, yeah.
um I don't know how much you can talk about the event itself, but I know you're also writing Absolute Power tie-in issue for Task Force 7, I think it is, starring the
Yeah.
JSA. Just off the solicitations, we know that the
Oh,
antagonist is, I think the name
yeah.
was Jadestone, which seems to be the counterpoint of a Green Lantern
Yeah.
for the team in this book. Would you say that your practice coming up with so many different constructs for your Green Lantern run has prepared you to make him a menacing threat to the JSA?
You know, it's weird because they asked me if I wanted to do it, and I just had a really great thought about it in terms of, you know, in terms of, you know, the power of the Green Lantern being something of will, and what does will mean inside of a robot, and things kind of spiraled from there, and it's now created this really interesting character that I think will not just stay in the one shot. I don't even think it's going to stay. I think it's going to show up extensively in the Green Lantern book, and then, you know, tying the Green Lantern book into the Absolute Power stuff is going to lead to a really fun issue that I get to do, which I'm really excited about. But I can't tell you. I mean, I get to have some of the fun conversations I get to have is, you know, just being able to write Mark Waid and ask like, hey, can I use these weapons or can I use the, and him responding with like dream come true in so many ways, you know? Yeah, I mean, we're lucky that Waid is kind of leading the charge on this, and Paul and Jillian on the editorial side of mine, they're keeping everything straight. I don't know how they do it, but I'm listen, this is what I've always dreamt of, you know? And I've said this at the beginning, it's like I don't really turn down when they say, "Hey, you want to do a crossover?" It's like, of course I want to do. I mean, it's more like you either do it or somebody else is doing it, you know, but I'm always like, I'll do it. You know,
Yeah.
I'll do it because I want to make it, try to make it cohesive within the universe of whatever and of Green Lantern, and especially now it comes at a really peculiar time in the Green Lantern story, the Absolute Power crossover, because you know, if you've read Green Lantern 11, you know that big things are coming, and there's, you know, there's a significant twist with the United Planets that reveals itself, and now our heroes are in deep poop. so so it's fun. They're really letting me spread my wings a little bit on it.
Yeah, that is awesome. With your Green Lantern book in general, what would you say have been what are some other Green Lantern books that you really like or were inspired by going into this one? I know you worked on the animated series that it's been cool seeing you pull like
Yeah,
Razor from that and everything.
yeah. I mean, listen, the honest truth is that when Jeff Johns was doing it and Pete Tomasi was doing Green Lantern Corps, like I was pulling those two books every week, and I was incredibly invested in that series at that time. And so, if you just think about that run leading up to Sinestro Corps War and like Blackest Night and Brightest Day, all that stuff was just monumental. And I I'm mad at Jeff because he kind of like filled that universe out. So it's hard to be like, oh man, what am I going to do now? You know, but it's a great challenge to have and get to follow and kind of. I guess I'm on the Jeff Johns track right now. It's like, oh yeah, I did Flash, and now I'm doing Green Lantern. I
JSA,
wish I
you
could
got the
just do it as
tie-in?
good as he does. Those, yeah, right. No, I mean, but they're really it's those were the biggest runs for me for reading, and I loved. Like I said, it wasn't just Jeff's run; it was Tomasi's Green Lantern Corps.
Mhm.
I was heavily invested in that. I thought that was really really cool, and that really kind of centered around Guy, a little more sophisticated Guy, and um, yeah, man, pretty cool. And I just try to like even with the Flash, I try to mine stuff from the past, and then try to make sense of the continuity of DC because that's hard. That's hard to do because they've rebooted so many times. So trying to figure out what's real, what happened, what didn't happen, you know?
Mhm. How would you say then, because you pull in a lot of the different Green Lanterns from where they are at the current state of the DC universe, were you the one reading all the books, figuring out where they last left off, or did you have help with that from the editorial team figuring out where all the different Green Lantern members were?
Both and I mean, I knew where a bunch were because
Mhm.
I do my homework,
Yeah.
but then they would tell me like, oh, this character's doing this right now, or this character's doing that, or we don't know where that character is, and so this is really a continuation of the Thorn run and all the kind of loose ends that were at the end of that. I mean, there were some huge reveals and huge things that had shown up. So being able to kind of play with that has been really, really fun. And they had given me the why don't you just say everything's back to normal in like a sentence? I'm like, I can't.
Hmm.
I'm a nerd. Like I have to know why it went back to, like I have to figure it out, you know?
Yeah. Your contributions to the stuff that was laid out in that run has been really cool. All the stuff with the whole United Planets backstory has been really cool, and I really like the story you told about why there's so many Earth Green Lanterns and the whole backstory with that in the last couple issues.
Lanterns. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like I need more time with like Tom Kalamaku and just having that designated survivor battery and I just thought it was fun the idea that humans one of the things that makes them special is they're just not really great at giving orders or taking orders and they're kind of a survivalist species like the cockroaches of the universe. So I like that the Owens are like these guys will survive. Like let's put this where if things go bad this will turn on and they'll be good to go.
Yeah. We know that in the DCU, one of the movies that they're coming out with, they're doing a Lantern show. Are there any cues from
Yeah,
Lantern history you'd be really interested to see them adapt to that medium?
it's interesting. I mean, if they're doing something that's earthbound, gosh, I don't even know where to start with that, honestly. Because if it's earthbound, then they have a lot of like Green Lantern has a significant rogues gallery, but I think you have to make them a little more darker maybe than they are. I mean, if I was doing it, it would be some sort of like body snatcher type thing, where there's some sort of alien, whatever. But I also, man, that's tough. That's tough because the thing that I always find with the Green Lantern run is like most Green Lantern runs that you remember, it all takes place in space. It's
Yeah.
all like, oh, we got to get out there, we got to go do something. So I don't know. I'm very curious myself. And if they need an extra writer, I'm right here.
Yeah. Well, everyone will send this to James Gunn on Instagram, that clip of you saying that to get you in the room.
James,
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah. Yeah, in terms of
Yeah.
Flash Gordon
I wrote a Scooby Doo. I wrote some Supernatural. Like,
oh
let me
yeah,
do it.
yeah.
Let me do a. Go ahead.
I was just send him the Johnny Cage movie. That'll sell him on lanterns.
I love that much, and I get that most people don't, or I don't know if they don't or not, but I enjoyed the
I
heck
think
out of
it's cool. I haven't
doing
heard
that
anyone
movie.
say they don't like it.
Oh, good, 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 good.
Yeah.
I think Scorpion's Revenge is great. I think Battle of the Realms, like I said, is like 40 minutes was cut out, and so we were just crying to cry everything in the second one. So I was a little. I understand people's trepidation, but then after that, having the Kenshi one and Snowblind, and then having Johnny Cage is that was a blast.
Yeah. It's cool. I hope we get to see some more of those movies from you down the line. Definitely, I've enjoyed all of them.
Oh, that would be great. That would be great.
That's all the questions I have related to Flash Gordon, Green Lantern. Are there any books coming out right now that you're really liking reading that you want to talk about?
That I like reading. Oh man, I like to read. I love Birds of Prey is one that I really enjoy. All my friends, like I said, all the ones up front I was talking about, Space Ghost. I'm lucky because a lot of people will ask me to read some ahead of time, so I'm very lucky
Yeah,
to get to read some of those. And I'm loving all the Ghost Machine stuff too. The Ghost Machine stuff has been really cool, whether it's Geiger, Redcoat, or really like Rook, because it's just so different. It feels
yeah,
like. Um, but yeah, as far as the books, I mean, obviously, I'm finished up with Jay Garrick, and now I've got Flash Gordon and Green Lantern, and I think there's going to be some more potential ones, and then I'm trying to work on, like I said, my own creator own, which, once I get it out there, I'll make sure to come back on, and you can
yeah.
help me promote it. So
Definitely, I'd love to. I totally forgot till you said that too. Since the last time we talked, all of Jay Garrick Flash has come out. That's it. I loved that whole series. It was super
yeah,
good to read.
thanks,
Yeah,
thanks. That was a lot of fun. Again, that was kind of like old school pulpy fun. I
yeah,
would kill to do a JSA, like World War II JSA book. That would be fun. That's
that would be
just the
really cool.
JSA in the World War II would be that would be really really neat. I think it's a cool time. I think it's just there's some of those older stories you could just revamp and kind of spruce up would be really fun.
Yeah, it was really cool seeing when in the start of your Flash run when it's Wally and Jay's body in the past in that like era.
Yeah,
I definitely would
yeah.
really kill to see another story like
That gave me the taste where I was like, oh, this is so much fun. That was fun.
that.
Having
Yeah,
Jay Garrick like come back at the moment to hit Hitler and
yeah,
so fun.
it was
I
too
love
cool.
that.
Is there anything else you could share about the creator-owned book you're working on, or not really yet?
No, not at all.
Okay, yeah,
Because I'm filled with self doubt and fear. But I've got some really great cover artists lined up, and I'm looking for a particular interior artist that I want, and and then I'm going to be off to the races, and then I'll announce it, and we'll see if anybody cares. So
awesome.
that'll be. I'm sure I'll do it. I'll probably just do it on Kickstarter or something. I don't know. I don't really know how to do it, so I'm kind of winging it just to see
Yeah,
if I can do it.
yeah. Well, we'll definitely promote it on this show. We'll get people to check out the
Thank
Kickstarter. I'll definitely put it out there
you.
because I'll read it. You're like I said on the whole last interview we did, like how much I've been talking about Green Lantern now. I was a huge Flash fan, so and when I read your run, it was just like the exact Flash content that I was looking for. That it it works out that I like everything else you've written since, but I feel like I just owe you to read everything you put out anyway. Yeah.
That's really kind. I mean, it's so good to hear because sometimes especially in this industry, you get kind of lost in the criticism or you have a little bit of self-doubt, but you just keep muddling through and try to do the best you can. And I'm having a lot of fun. So until they take the toys away from me, I'm gonna keep trying to have fun.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to keep reading as you do it then. That's yeah, that's all the questions I
Thank
have
you.
then. Is there anything else you wanted to promote? Are you going to any signings or anything
That's it.
coming up yeah?
Oh, I'm going to Boston Fan Expo in a month, and then after that it'll be Comic Con in San Diego, which will be really fun, and then Chicago Fan Expo in August. So yeah, that's pretty much my dance ticket right now. I've tried to pull back on cons this year
Yeah.
for the sake of my wife and my new puppy and the kids, but I miss going out more. I'll probably go out more this coming year. Don't tell anyone. I'll be like, let's go. If the creator own happens this year, then I'm 100% going to be hitting the convention circuit hardcore next year. So
Yeah. Well, you did a signing for Free Comic Book Day, right? Did I see? too?
Yeah, down next to Joe Casey, down at Winnetka's Collector's Paradise. Collector's Paradise books out here are incredible. The guy who runs them, Ed, he's really keeping comic books alive in LA, especially with so many store closures and stuff. But it was really fun. A ton of people showed up.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it was your first
Yeah,
free comic book day issue that came out too. That's awesome.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
It's super neat.
Yeah, super cool. Then, well, on that note, if you're listening right now, go to your local comic book shop instead and buy Green Lantern 11. And while you're there at the register, ask them to add Flash Gordon to your pull box. Thank you so much for coming on. It's always a pleasure. I hope to we'll have you back on when you need the creator own book promoted too. Hopefully before then too.
Yeah. Thank you, CJ. I appreciate it, man.
Of course. Have a great day.
Bye bye.